We welcome in the head coach of Sac State women's basketball or Sac State men's basketball. Our man, Coach GP.
You see what he got in his mind.
Well, he would. Hey, Coach is working to get to the tournament next year. He's up there. He's got his eyes on these games, thinking, yeah, I can see that kid playing in green next year. I can see that kid playing. How different is recruiting now that the transfer portal is a thing?
It changes so quick. Like we lost last Tuesday, and I'm on the plane, and on Wednesday.
You ain't rested yet.
I'm not rested, man. This ain't coaching voice, it's portal voice, because I've been on the phone the whole time trying to get recruits.
And just to let me, like, how does that work? Like, you have a window in which you can talk to kids, and then you can't.
Yeah, exactly. So we can get kids on campus up until the Final Four, which is in 2 weeks. We can be on the phone, obviously, them all the time. This day and age, just put their name in the portal. It's like a free agency. You got to get after them. And you want to be the first school to call and then try to get in front of them.
Let them know they're wanted and they're needed. And
the funny thing is, we kind of joked about it, Damian. It's like, man, they might end up having a trade deadline in basketball. It's like in the portal move in the middle of the season.
They need it. And then with this whole NIL thing, they get money too. So
it's
the pros.
And how much, like, so the NIL is still such a weird thing, right? Like name, image, and likeness. Like, how are you allowed to talk about it? Is it because it's legal, but it still feels like it's kind of a secret?
It's weird. Like, you're not supposed to talk about it. You can kind of say, hey, I think you can get some money over here if you call D-Lo and Casey. You know what I'm saying? But that you can directly call. I see Louis Vuitton.
See, Coach. We showed up at the game the other night, and I knew I looked good. Like, we just knew, like, we were on point. We were like, hey, let's go down. Let's go see Coach Patrick. We get to Coach Patrick's seat, just walk of shame up the stairs, like we ain't in the same zip code.
Off like that.
We ain't even in the same zip code as Coach Patrick.
I got to try to have the swag to get these kids, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, you laugh, but how real is that? Like, the way you dress, the way you look, how you present yourself, like, that's got to go a long way with an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old.
I think it helps. I try to be a player's coach. Obviously, I'm hard on them, just trying to be hard on them, but I try to be in what they're into, whether it's the music or IG and all that stuff they're into. My fashion.
What you hate?
Huh?
What you hate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate it because I think it influences them too much in a bad way.
Yeah.
A lot of times, our players put their emotions online instead of talking about it. And I know it's a time and a place for it, but I'm not a.
Well, the thing that also, like, you worry about with IG and social media is it affecting how these guys play. And I'm talking about it in the sense of, I don't want to guard this guy closely because if I fall, I'm going to be all everywhere. I don't want to challenge this dunk. If I get dunked on, I'm going to go viral. I'm going to be on overtime. And as a coach, how do you get these guys to be like, man, don't worry about that, man. You got to do the best basketball play that you can at that particular time.
I think talk about it early on. That's one of the first conversations we have about obviously it's a world that we live in, so I have to embrace it. I don't love it, and I embrace it, but I think you have to talk about it. And all that matters is the circle, which is our basketball circle, what we call our family, and that's all that matters. Your parents got their opinions, but they don't know what's going on in the day-to-day. None of your friends or coaches, so you try to talk about it. But as you see, the NBA becomes an issue, and we do the same stuff.
And Coach, you got a ton of ties in the NBA, and we've seen Mike Brown, De'Aaron Fox. We've seen Kings players at your games. Obviously, last night was an amazing night for Mike, that coaching staff, that team, this fan base, this city. We all know the history of the Sacramento Kings, and I just wonder, as a coach, we were watching Mike Brown last night. Mike beat. And I know part of that is the travel, the back-to-back, the lack of sleep, going in there, grinding out a win against Brooklyn. And while Mike won't admit it, there is pressure on him to make, that the weight of 40, the weight of 41, the weight to get those 42. That carries on a coach. What is a coach's perspective on? Because you're kind of dealing with the same thing as Sac State. Traditionally, not a winning program, everyone's turning to you like, all right, we saw a big turnaround this year. What's next?
Look, I think it changes, right? You're usually hunting teams when you were the Kings to start the year. We're hunting teams. It's different when you become the hunter. When that target on your back becomes big, and from our perspective, when they come to Sacramento now in the NBA, they're trying to win. They're coming to go get them. And so the mentality of your staff and your team has to change so much more. And it's harder. I know, even for the GM, I think Monty was doing awesome, but he had some pressure. And now it's like not make the playoffs, but be a fifth seed or third seed or second seed. Like there's always mounting pressure. And that's same for us at Sac State. I think we started off like 11-4, and everybody thought we were going to go undefeated, and that wasn't the case. And that pressure built with our team, and we got cracked a little early, then we fought through it. So learning curve, but something that you want. You want to be the 100, and I'm so glad the Kings are in that spot they are right now.
Do you think about State? Do you think you guys kind of gain respect? Let's just stick with the people in the Big Sky with the way you played. Maybe they had a certain perception of what playing Sac State might be. And they saw what you guys did in the preseason. They played against them. Hey, what you know, coach? Like, it's a tough night every time Sac State is in front of us.
I think so. I think so. Even if you looked at our games down the stretch, nobody overlooked us. Playing Montana State, the two top teams in the league, and going down to one possession. But we got respect through the league, and I can tell it nationally. Like I can't schedule games now because nobody wants to play us. The fact we went and won at Fresno State, the fact we beat Long Beach State. Now it's hard to get those same teams to schedule us next year, and that's the challenge we have, but the challenge that you as well.
Sac State versus the Blind Sisters of the Poor at the Nest. Get ready.
I'm trying to get them.
How different is, because you've coached pros before, players that have gone on to be pros in different leagues. How big of an adjustment is it for you to coach pro players and then coach raw teenagers?
I think you teach. I coach because I like to teach. And we're teachers just like those in the classroom. And so sometimes those pros got God-given ability that you're not teaching too much. Ben Simmons, not anymore, but the Ben Simmons in college, was going to be a lot. Going to be a lottery pick. I didn't have a lot to do with his game. But the guys like the Patty Mills, the Matt Dellavedovas, the Joe Ingles, those guys that are in the league that weren't highly touted. I think that's what you want. And at Sac State, you can get those kind of kids here, and as long as they develop, that's the part I love most, the development part.
March Madness, NCAA tournament going down. I'm enjoying this conversation with Coach Patrick because, Damon, I think this is the last time we'll be able to talk to him during this time. I think my man gonna be in the tournament next year and moving forward. So I'm gonna cherish this moment, talking to him during the madness because he's gonna be participating soon.
Well, I think we need to cherish the moment before we call him, and he's like, "Who?"
I'm good. Call my agent.
Coach, yeah. It's my old Sac State phone. Coach been to 3 straight tournaments, and all of a sudden, man, the radio appearances they get tougher to make.
But you played in the tournament, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't realize when we were at the game and the Knicks were there and Syracuse and John Wallace was there. I didn't know you guys played together. Were you on the team that went to the Final Four?
Yeah, we went to the national championship my freshman year. Man.
And he hit that shot in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, we beat Kansas, who were undefeated in the Elite Eight. That's how old I am. We beat Jacques Vaughn.
Yeah. So I mean, take us through that as a player. Man, I'm on one of the biggest stages in sports. At Syracuse, you're in the eye of the public. Everybody locked in on Syracuse. I mean, do you feel the weight of all that while you're playing, or are you just going out there playing?
You know what? We played in the Big East, but it was the real Big East. And so our big Mondays were playing Allen Iverson, Rip Hamilton, Felipe Lopez. So our league got us prepared for the tournament. So we were kind of the darlings of the East Coast, coming from Syracuse at that time. So when we got to the tournament, though, we ended up playing Montana State, I think the first game, beat them. And then we won 3 games on the buzzer. Beat Kansas on the buzzer, beat Georgia on the buzzer. And then we get to the Final Four, and then everybody thought we were going to play UMass. And they got upset by Mississippi State. And they had a guy named Eric here. Remember Eric?
Yeah.
And then we played Kentucky, had
That
13
Kentucky
pros.
team was
Oh,
crazy.
I think one of the
Didn't they
best
have like 10
teams ever.
pros in there?
They had like 12 pros.
That Kentucky team was crazy.
And so that was just a real moment. It was in New Jersey, but I was a freshman, so I thought this happens every year.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, this is normal. We're gonna go to the Final Four next year. We'll get there.
Yeah.
And obviously that's not the case when you look back on it. But fun time in my life. Obviously you saw it with John at the game, and that bond has been there for 30 years now.
Do you think about that moment at this time of year?
I do. You know what I do? I do. Because I said this, man. Nobody cares how much you scored.
Yeah.
Did you get in the game? It's all about, did you get to that stage? And I talk to my team about that a lot, and I want them to feel that moment. I've been there as a coach many times, right? As a Sweet 16, Elite 8 multiple times. But to go there as a player, there's nothing like it, and I want my team at my school and my university to feel that same feeling.
Coach Patrick's appearance in the championship game, that was the last Final Four that was in an arena.
Correct.
They started going to the domes, but they were in East
Rutherford, the Meadowlands. Yeah,
the Meadowlands.
Yeah,
that was the last one in an arena.
Did you ever play in a dome?
The Carrier Dome.
Was it
The Carrier.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess that's
60,000 a night, bro.
Yeah, and they packed them in the Carrier.
It's just, I mean, certainly visually on television, it looks so different. I got to imagine it's different for a player.
It's hard. We played in when I was at Arkansas 2 years ago. I went to the Elite Eight, Moses Moody, and lost to Baylor in the Elite Eight. But they played in the Lucas Oil Arena.
Oh,
man, that thing was so big, man. Them guys were like shooting outside, and it's hard, man. Like these aren't pros. These are kids, man. The depth perception and everything they got to deal with.
It's like you're shooting into the middle of the ocean. So
yeah, it does, man. It does.
So
it's different. It's hard to prepare for, but obviously it's great that they're able to do that.
How's the obviously you're playing, so it's a little different, but as a coach, getting the kids prepared, the young men prepared for a tournament game, like is it different? Do you feel like you can only tell them so much? They have to actually experience it, or like how's that go preparing for the tournament game as a coach?
The first time you go is different because you take in all the noise, all the media requests. You got people calling you for tickets and all that stuff. So it's hard to lock in the first time you go. The second time, you know what the distractions are and to block them out. But you try to just you got 3 days to prepare for a game. Sometimes, if you're in the playing game, sometimes you got 2, right? So you hope that your base, your defense, your offense is right, and try to not do things differently. I think when you start doing things that aren't normal, the players sense that, and I think you got to keep it as normal as you can going into those games.
The good thing about those type of situations is I never played in the NCAA tournament, but I played in situations where I've been nervous, whether it's championship games or pros versus Joes on TV, all this other stuff. And I'd say, you tell me what you think. I'd say the first 5 minutes are like you're like kind of jittery or whatever, but then it just becomes a basketball game. And like you get that out, you get the butterflies out, and it just becomes a basketball game. Did you kind of feel the same way in your experiences?
Definitely. There's butterflies. If you don't have butterflies, you shouldn't be up there, right? I think anything you got to get through that. I always say the first 4 minutes, just get to this media, man. Everything will be right. Like you said, it's 94 by 50. They bleed like we bleed. Let's go.
I know all wins are satisfying, but the Kings won a grinded out game last night. They scored 101 points. That was their lowest win total in a game that they won all year. Are those types of wins just a little bit more satisfying when you can fight through and grab one like that?
Just watching, I felt like I was just here on Tuesday night or something, right? I was at the Bucks game, and they went to Phoenix, and they went to Chicago, right? And they're like,
they've been all over the place, like 3 days.
I think as a coach, not that they haven't bought in, we know the Kings team's bought in, but to empty the tank the way they did, and to fight, it's easy to just lay down and get ready with Washington tomorrow. But to see that means that they're prepared for the playoffs when they get there, and they can endure anything thrown at them during the playoffs.
How real is that? Like, so we never experienced going in different time zones and back to back and all this other stuff. And like, what is the drain that it has? Is it more mental than physical, or is it physical as well?
I think it's both. You go from hotel to, even though it's private plane, you're still traveling from time zones. These guys are kids, families they got to talk to. I think there's a lot that goes into it. And they're not robots. Yeah, they get paid a lot of money, but they're not robots. It's real.
When you expect to get 25.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe they don't have to shoot around the day of the game. They let them sleep in, and then they got to go, take the next team's best shot. It's amazing what they're able to do and accomplish, but all that stuff is real when it comes to mental and physical health.
Well, as Casey pointed out, this is probably the last time we're going to get to see Coach David Patrick at this time of year because the Sac State Hornets men's basketball team is on the come up. Coach, we told you this already. We'll tell you again in person. We appreciate hanging out with you all year. We appreciate watching this program grow. I know Kenny and I are excited to be along for the ride, and we appreciate you stopping by and hanging out with us.
No, and I tell you all the time, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the city of Sacramento for welcoming me and my family here. And I promise you we'll be in play in March sometime soon.
Yeah, that's what I like.
Hey, man, Coach David Patrick right there.
Coach, grad student, I can still shoot. Like I said, I don't play defense the way you want me to. I can communicate though. I can tell people where to be, and I'll be like, hey, help. I can do that, but I can shoot with it. I can shoot with anybody.
I just need makers, man, not shooters. But hey, then don't forget the women play tomorrow.
Oh, yes.
Our women's Sacramento State. First time in history, man. I'll be here watching.
Sac State UCLA tomorrow.
We got a feeling about this.
Yeah, I think they win. So, I think UCLA can be got, and I think Sac State can get them.
I'm with you. They got the best point guard on the West Coast. In my
they
opinion.
do.
And the best coach. Yeah.
Make sure you guys are locked in tomorrow. The Sac State women versus UCLA in the women's NCAA tournament. Game before, if anyone wants to watch, Duke and Iona. Check that out.